in regards to this kind of way out of taking responsibility where they have their curriculum, but they also can teach from something else, how do you break this circular cycle of not being able to take responsibilities? Because during the board meetings, and Karin, by the way, this is the disrespect between parents and the school board. All you have to do is turn on your local board meeting and just watch. Like, this stuff is not even hidden anymore. It's not subtle anymore. It's right up in the front. So Peter, I've been seeing the school boards just pointing fingers. They point fingers to the Ministry of Education on their approved books. They also say, talk to the principal. I've been confirmed by the principal and librarians that they have no power to remove the books in the library on topics, sexually explicit material topics. And everybody's just pointing fingers and nobody's taking responsibility. What do you think about this?
Well, so first of all, I'd say that there is, unfortunately, an adversarial relationship now between parents and these boards of education. And I'm seeing that, across multiple school boards. I think it's a symptom, really, of the underlying sort of culture that's taken over the education system in general. Parents are anybody that opposes if you'll excuse the word, the woke curriculum, is considered an enemy, essentially. So if that's parents, then so be it. Now, to be fair to the school boards, and this is where it gets a bit contentious, because most parents that have issues with their children's schools will immediately go to their school boards and they'll complain. The school boards are correct on a couple of points here. Number one, the curriculum is set by the Ministry of Education, and that is a provincial government function. And I think, frankly, the provincial government needs to be getting a lot more anger directed at it than it is, because the provincial government does set the curriculum, and they have implemented a lot of legislation, which is essentially tying the hands of trustees when it comes to equity issues and, the rules are under which school boards operate. And they've allowed a lot of things to happen which have, constituted, again, I've mentioned this before, but silencing trustees. That only happens because of it's permitted to happen under the legislation of the Education Act. So I think a lot of anger needs to be directed not just at the school boards, but more, frankly, at the provincial government, at least in Ontario. Ironically, we have a progressive conservative government at the moment. You wouldn't know it. But, when the schools say, we have to do this because it's a legislative requirement, they're not wrong, right? I mean, they do have to comply with the law, and the curriculum is what it is. So they have to comply. They have to teach the curriculum. Now, to Karin's point, that they're not restricted to the curriculum, and it seems that some of the teachers get a little bit creative in terms of how they implement the curriculum, let's say, within their own classroom. And some of them will, conveniently enough, add things that they would like to add, and whether or not the parents are on board seems to be largely irrelevant. Now, in terms of how we break the cycle of that, I mean, that's a tough one, because honestly, I don't see any mechanism other than through legal action at this point. You can try to take over school boards if you can find enough people that are ideologically like-minded that would challenge the status quo. That would be in a position to win a school board, although that's more challenging. It's easier said than done. But even if you could, one of the things I've found is that the legislation effectively ties your hands. You're severely limited. A lot of people don't realize just school board trustees don't really have that much power at the end of the day. Not anywhere near other types of politicians. They're actually quite limited in what they can do. For example, they can't fire teachers. They can't fire superintendents. Typically, the only person that they could fire would be the director of education. And then, in theory, I suppose you could replace the director of education with somebody that was more like-minded. And then that director, in turn, could clean house within the lower managerial ranks of a given board. But obviously, that gets into, the unions will be fighting you tooth and nail on that. There'll be a whole lot of nasty politics and nasty media attention. So I really don't see any option other than legal action to raise some of these concerns. And again, that is expensive, first of all, and there's no guarantee of success. And you've got to be able to make a strong legal case as to why you're right. And, your mileage may vary. That's maybe the best way to put it. But that's the state of things at the moment.